Hey everyone, welcome to Relatively Refined. My name is Paula. Well, there's something about fall that makes me want to curl up with the coziest of books. Warm kitchens, autumn villages, and mysteries that pair perfectly with a mug of tea. If you're looking for books that feel like fall, you are in the right place. So stick around and let's get started. For me, autumn is the season of stories. I love to curl up with a cozy book. I have several favorite categories of cozy. Some of them are books that include beautiful and detailed descriptions of domestic life, whether it's in a bustling kitchen, a village tea room, or even the cozy home of talking animals. I also love a good atmospheric mystery that I can read as those evenings grow longer and the shadows grow deeper. And then sometimes it's just books that are set in places that, to me, remind me of fall. Places like Scotland, the misty moors of England, or the Irish countryside. So what I have for you today is a stack of books that in my mind feel like fall. So let me get started sharing with you some of my favorite fall cozy reads. I'm going to take a sip of my tea and then I'm going to talk about the books. Okay, as I said, I love books that describe domestic life. There's nothing cozier than the idea of a warm kitchen filled with wonderful smells or a crackling fire. So I have here a pile of books that do exactly that. And these are all books that feature little animals and other creatures and not humans. Top among them, and I have shared this book before, are the Brambly Hedge stories by Jill Barkham. They are so adorable. And I'm just going to open up this book so you can see some of the lovely illustrations. It's a story of mice who live in these beautiful little homes underground and in hollowed out trees and stumps. And the descriptions of domestic life are just wonderful. Look at that. How gorgeous is that? And, you know, I've said this before. I really want to live in Brambly Hedge. It's my ideal village. But they're just gorgeous pictures and descriptions of domestic life. And yes, it's the domestic life of talking mice, but it is just so sweet and cozy. Let me just read to you a little description from this book. When the Toadflax family went down to breakfast, they found the kitchen dark and still. Mrs. Toadflax put the fresh wood on the fire and set Clover to work with the toasting fork. Soon they were all sitting round the table, eating hot buttered toast, drinking blackberry leaf tea, and making plans for the day ahead. Is that not just the perfect start to a wonderful day? So if you're looking for the ultimate in cozy domestic life, I cannot recommend more highly the complete works of Brambly Hedge. Absolutely lovely, by Jill Barkham. In that same vein, of course, we have Beatrix Potter. And I have a pretty good collection of the little tiny Beatrix Potter books. I pulled this one out, Squirrel Nutkin, The Tale of Squirrel Nutkin, just because to me that reminds me of fall. I always think of squirrels running around my yard, gathering up their acorns and things in the fall to prepare for the long winter ahead. But these are absolutely beautiful little books. Again, the illustrations are so darling. This is a tale about a tale that belonged to a little red squirrel, and his name was Nutkin. And they are just darling. I've said this before as well. I love anything miniature. If you can sit on a toadstool and drink out of a thimble, I am all in. And this is just the story of Squirrel Nutkin and him gathering up, what he needs to survive the long, cold winter. Beatrix Potter has, any number of little books, all different stories. Peter Rabbit, Benjamin Bunny, Jemima Puddle Duck, all kinds of things. And they are just so cute and cozy. I was lucky enough to find at Goodwill one day the Great Big Treasury Book of Beatrix Potter. And it is, again, filled with absolutely darling stories and beautiful illustrations. If you want cozy, you really can't go wrong with Beatrix Potter. Also, continuing the theme of little critters, The Wind in the Willows is a wonderful book, and it contains lots of wonderful descriptions of the landscape and the activities of, rat and mole and all of the creatures in this and what they get up to. It's just lovely, and it's very cozy. It does span, all of the seasons, so it's not specifically fall, but I love the descriptions in here of their activities and the seasons. And so for me, this is an ultimate cozy fall book. And then finally, this is a book that I've talked about a number of times on my channel, so I won't bore you talking about it too much this time, but it is Miss Hickory. And again, Miss Hickory is a little, not really a person, but she has a hickory nut head and an apple branch body, and she lives, outside in the trees. And again, wonderful descriptions, seasonal descriptions of domestic life. It's just a fabulous book. I've had this book since I was a little girl. And I know that when I mentioned it last time, several of you emailed or commented to let me know that you had purchased the book and absolutely loved it. So I'm so excited by that. So that's my first category of cozy books, and they have to do with the domestic life of small little creatures. All right. Let me get my next stack of books. As much as I love the domestic details of the lives of furry little creatures, I also love books that are filled with cozy domestic details about the lives of humans. And I have several here. The first one is, of course, the Laura Ingalls Wilder series. And I love this series. It is full of seasonal details and details about their life on the prairie and in the big woods. This one happens to be Little House in the Big Woods. And I did mark a little passage here. And I wanted to read just a little bit so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. And in this scene, Laura and her sister Mary are playing in the attic, and it is kind of early fall, maybe October-ish, I would say, and the family has been gathering up food to preserve for the winter. The attic was a lovely place to play. The large, round, colored pumpkins made beautiful chairs and tables. The red peppers and the onions dangled overhead. The hams and the venison hung in their paper wrappings, and all the bunches of dried herbs, the spicy herbs for cooking and the bitter herbs for medicine, gave the place a dusty, spicy smell. I think that says cozy better than almost anything. So this is one of the books that for me feels like fall. All right. Also, another book that I have talked about a lot on my channel because it is my all-time favorite book is the book Understood Betsy. And let me just read to you a little passage from this book. It's a book about, if you don't know this book, it's a book about a little girl from the city who goes to live with her cousins who live in Vermont, out in the country on a farmhouse. And she's been a very kind of sheltered child. And all of a sudden she is on this farm where the family kind of expects that she has a little bit more get up and go or oomph than she does. And it's not that she doesn't want to, it's just that she's been terribly sheltered. So the story is wonderful. It's just a very lovely coming of age story. And throughout this book, you can see how Elizabeth kind of comes into herself as she lives out in the country with her Vermont cousins. All right. At the end, at one end, and this is a description of the kitchen, at one end, the end where Cousin Anne was ironing, stood the kitchen stove. gleaming black with a tea kettle humming away on it, a big hot water boiler near it, and a large kitchen cabinet with lots of drawers and shelves and hooks and things. Beyond that, in the middle of the room, was the table where they had eaten supper last night, and at which the little girl now sat, eating her very late breakfast. And beyond that, at the other end of the room, was another table with an old dark red cashmere shawl on it for a cover. A large lamp stood in the middle of this bookcase near it, 2 or 3 rocking chairs around it, and back of it, against the wall, was a wide sofa covered with bright cretonne and 3 bright pillows. Really such a lovely description. And if you hear that noise in the background, that is Phoebe, who is snoring away on the couch over here behind me. But this book has wonderful descriptions of the fall in Vermont. It has all of the seasons, but fall in Vermont is just almost unparalleled. And so I love this book, and I love the cozy feeling I get when I read it. So for me, this is an absolute must read in the fall. Understood, Betsy. Then, of course, we have the Jan Karen Mitford series. I love the Mitford series. It takes place in North Carolina, and it is just chock-a-block full of cozy domestic descriptions, cozy details about life in a small North Carolina town. I've marked a passage in this book, and this is a description of autumn in the North Carolina mountains. Autumn drew on in the mountains. Here it set red maples on fire. There it turned oaks russet and yellow. Fat persimmons became the color of melted gold, waiting for frost to turn their bitter flesh to honey. Sassafras, dogwoods, poplars, redbud, all were touched by autumn's brazen fire, displaying their colorful tapestry along every ridge and hogback, in every cove and gorge. And not only are there beautiful descriptions of nature in these books, but just of everyday simple life in a small southern town. And this series, the Mitford series, is just so delightful. It's an easy read, such a cozy read. If you are ever in need of feeling uplifted, or if you're just feeling a little bit kind of, out of sorts, I suggest reading one of the Mitford books, and it will make you smile and just kind of bring you back to times gone by when life seemed simple, or simpler for sure, and things like friends and family and community were of primary importance. So I love to read the Mitford series in fall. To me, these are the perfect cozy fall read. And I have 2 other books here that have fabulous descriptions of domestic life. The first one is Cranford by Elizabeth Gaskell. And this tells the story of spinsters, essentially, who are trying to live a genteel life on limited means. But the descriptions of life in the village, the English village where they live, is just, the descriptions are fabulous. I love this book. As you can see, it's a very slim read, so it would be a quick read, something you could read easily in a weekend. And it is just a wonderful book to get cozy with. Pour yourself a cup of tea, curl up under a fuzzy blanket, and open up Cranford. You won't be disappointed, I promise. And finally, the last book that I want to share with you about, that contains very cozy, detailed descriptions of domestic life, is Diary of a Provincial Lady by E.M. Delafield. And this is exactly that. It is the diary of a provincial lady, and it is written in diary form. So for example, the first entry, November 7th, plant the indoor bulbs. Just as I am in the middle of them, Lady Box calls. I say untruthfully how nice it is to see her, and beg her sit down while I just finish the bulbs. And it goes on like that. And there's lots of wonderful details and seasonal details about life, you know, in the country and life of a provincial lady. And this is another one that's a very slim read that you could easily sit down and read in a weekend. So that is my stack of domestic detailed books written about humans, not furry little creatures. The next category of books that to me feel like fall are those atmospheric mysteries. I do love to read a good mystery in the fall, and I have several here that I would like to share with you. Well, you can't think of mysteries, or at least I can't think of mysteries, without thinking of Agatha Christie. So, of course, I need to include an Agatha Christie as a book that feels like fall. I love the idea of mysteries in the fall, just any kind of mystery, but an Agatha Christie mystery is especially autumnal because to me it's like they're often on English country manors, they're in misty, cool places, there are, you know, a puzzle involved, and you can kind of curl up with it and just read straight through. Like, for example, this is Dead Man's Folly. This is a Hercule Poirot mystery that features Ariadne Oliver, who's a character that I think is modeled after Agatha Christie herself. Ariadne Oliver is a mystery writer in the books, and I love the interplay between she and Hercule Poirot. Another mystery series that to me is very autumnal is the Hamish Macbeth series by M.C. Beaton. And the reason I think of it as an autumnal read is because it is set in Scotland. And for whatever reason, I associate Scotland or the Scottish countryside with fall. And the covers of these two books are actually very autumnal looking to me. You have the purple heather, the kind of misty moors looking kind of craggy, heather-filled, rugged countryside of Scotland. So I love to pick up a good mystery, as I said, in the fall, and these Hamish Macbeth ones are wonderful. The descriptions of the Scottish countryside I love, and the mysteries are also very good. Another mystery series that I am fairly new to is the Louise Penny mysteries. This one is called Still Life, and her mysteries take place in Canada. They take place in Quebec. Her main inspector, or her main sleuth, is Armand Gamache. He's a chief inspector, and he works out of Montreal. When I lived in Vermont, I lived very close to the Canadian border. I lived in a town and worked in a town called Swanton, Vermont, and it was right on the Canadian border, and Montreal was less than a 2-hour drive away, and we used to go to Montreal fairly often. So I love things that are set in places that I am familiar with, and the Louise Penny mysteries are very, very good. I believe the town is called Three Pines. Yes. And this particular one, Still Life, takes place right around Thanksgiving. So it's got a lot of very autumnal feel to it. So Louise Penny and Still Life is another book that I would recommend as an excellent fall reading choice. And then finally, in terms of mysteries, I also love a good Sherlock Holmes story. I've recently thrifted this kind of folio edition of Sherlock Holmes stories. And, you know, I think of them as kind of misty and foggy and set in London or the English countryside. They have a very kind of mysterious atmospheric feel to them that I think fits in perfectly in the autumn. So in terms of mysteries, I don't think you can go wrong also with anything by Arthur Conan Doyle in the Sherlock Holmes series. And then finally, I do have 2 other books that I want to talk about that are great fall reads. The first is anything by James Herriot. This takes place, these are the stories of a Yorkshire vet. They take place in the countryside in in England, and they are just full of wonderful seasonal descriptions and descriptions of the kind of quirky people who live in the village, and they're just fabulously cozy. There's of course the PBS series, which I love, but the books themselves are fantastic. So I highly recommend the James Herriot books, All Creatures Great and Small. This one is Every Living Thing. It's just a wonderful series and just a super cozy autumn read. I know y'all can hear her snoring. It's so loud. I'm sorry for that. I don't know what I can do. She's just very, very comfortable and cozy, and I cannot bear to disturb her. And then I'm going to reach over here. The last book that I would recommend is a Barbara Pym novel called Excellent Women. And this is a story, again, of spinsters. There is, I guess, something called Spinster September. So this would be a perfect book to read in September because it's about spinsters, and it's about these excellent women who, while they are spinsters and have no husbands or children, they do everything for everyone else. And this is just Barbara Pym's kind of very insightful, sometimes humorous, sometimes sarcastic look at the lives of these spinsters. So there you have it, all of the books that I'm recommending as of right now, not all of them, but some of the books that I would recommend as books that are perfect to read in the autumn. If you enjoyed this video, I would love for you to give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. What are some of your favorite autumn reads? I personally love to do seasonal reading, so it's kind of fun to read books that are set in the autumn or about the autumn, or very seasonal fall books in the fall. So I would love to know, what are some of the things that you enjoy reading in the autumn? And if you've made it this far in the video and you don't want to leave a comment, but you'd like to let me know you were here, go ahead and leave me a fall leaf emoji in the comment section. That really does help out our channel. All right, everybody, that is going to do it for today. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I really appreciate it. I will leave several videos linked at the end of this one for you to watch until our next upload. In the meantime, take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.